The $847 restaurant bill sat on the table between them like a bomb about to detonate. Dante Rossi, 25 years old, heir to a billion-dollar empire, the youngest and most dangerous mafia boss in Los Angeles, patted his pockets for the third time, his face draining of color. No wallet, no cards. His security team had nothing but weapons. And standing there with tired eyes and a kind smile was Simone Carter, 30-year-old single mother working double shifts to pay for her daughter's medications, about to do something that would change both their lives forever. She pulled out her own worn debit card, the one with exactly $1 left after rent, and said 6 words that would echo through eternity. "Don't worry. I've got this, sir." If you believe that one act of kindness can change everything, that generosity returns 1,000-fold, and that sometimes angels show up in waitress uniforms, stay with us. This story will restore your faith in divine timing. Hello, everyone. Before we start, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Like the video and share with loved ones, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. That way, YouTube will keep showing you stories just like this one. Now, here's something important. We're doing a Holiday Miracles series, and we want lots of people to indicate interest. We're creating beautiful stories of unexpected generosity, divine intervention, and proof that kindness is never wasted. If you want to be part of this, comment "more miracles" right now and share this video with everyone you know. We need more subscribers to make this the biggest, most heartwarming miracle story collection ever. Now, let's begin. Simone Carter's alarm didn't ring at 5:30 a.m. It wailed. She slapped the ancient iPhone 6, screen cracked in 3 places, battery held together by hope and a dollar store case, and immediately remembered why she'd set it so early. Her daughter's medication was almost out, the pharmacy opened at 6 a.m., and she needed to pick it up before her shift at Bellissimo's Italian restaurant started at 7. The medication cost $340 for a 30-day supply. She had $100 in her checking account. Rent was $950. Due in 3 days. The math was simple and devastating. At 30 years old, Simone Carter was beautiful in the way women who've survived hell are beautiful. Deep brown skin that still glowed despite exhaustion. High cheekbones that caught light even in the dim pre-dawn darkness of her studio apartment, natural hair she kept in a simple bun because she couldn't afford a salon, and eyes that held both weariness and an unbreakable kindness. She was 5'7" of pure resilience, carrying the weight of a life that had tried repeatedly to break her. She hadn't broken. Not when Lila's father had walked out 6 months into the pregnancy. Not when she'd dropped out of nursing school because she couldn't afford child care and tuition. Not when Lila was diagnosed with juvenile diabetes at age 5, turning every day into a careful calculation of insulin doses and blood sugar checks and medications that cost more than Simone made in a week. Not when her mother, her only family, her only support, died from a stroke last year, leaving Simone completely alone in a world designed to crush people like her. She survived. But God, she was tired. In the next room, technically the same room divided by a curtain she'd hung to give Lila privacy, her daughter slept in the twin bed that took up most of their space. Lila was 7 years old, bright as sunrise, funny and sweet, and completely unaware that her mother was drowning in medical debt, past due notices, and the particular terror of knowing one emergency would destroy everything. Simone pulled on her black work pants, starting to pill at the thighs. Her white button-down shirt, washed so many times it was more gray than white, and the non-slip shoes that were giving her plantar fasciitis because she couldn't afford new ones. She was a waitress at Bellissimo's, an upscale Italian restaurant in Beverly Hills, where she served people who spent more on one meal than she made in a week. She'd worked there for 5 years. She was good at her job, excellent, actually. She remembered orders, anticipated needs, smiled through exhaustion and rudeness, and the particular condescension wealthy people showed service workers. She worked doubles most days, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., then 5 p.m. to 11 p.m., 6 days a week, because the tips were better at dinner and she needed every dollar. Last month, she'd made $300-400. After rent, utilities, Lila's medication, food, her phone, the bus pass, and the minimum payments on the $43,000 in medical debt from Lila's diagnosis and her mother's final hospitalization, she'd had $67 left. $67. For everything else. She was 30 years old, and she'd forgotten what it felt like to not be terrified. But she smiled. Always smiled. Because Lila needed to believe everything was okay. Because hope was a choice. Even when reality offered no evidence. Simone kissed her sleeping daughter's forehead, left a note. "Gone to work, baby. Mrs. Chen will take you to school. I love you to the moon," and stepped into the December cold. The bus to the pharmacy took 40 minutes. The line took another 20. When the pharmacist rang up Lila's insulin and test strips, the total was $340.47. Simone's card declined. "Try again," she said, even though she knew. Declined again. She checked her banking app. $340.12 available. She was 35 cents short. 35 cents between her daughter and life-threatening diabetic ketoacidosis. "I can come back," Simone said, throat tight. "I get paid Friday. Can you hold it?" The pharmacist, a young woman who looked at Simone with more compassion than she could bear, nodded. "I'll hold it. But you need to pick it up by tomorrow. We can't hold controlled substances longer than that." Tomorrow. She had to come up with $340.47 by tomorrow. Simone made it outside before she cried. Not long. Just 2 minutes of silent tears in the parking lot of a CVS at 6:47 a.m., letting herself feel the crushing weight of it all before she buried it again and went to work. Because that's what you did when you were the only thing between your child and catastrophe. You kept going. She made it to Bellissimo's by 7:15 a.m., changed into her uniform in the staff bathroom, tied her apron, checked her face, erased all evidence of breaking. By 7:30, when the restaurant opened for the day shift, Simone Carter was smiling, professional, ready to serve. The morning shift was slow. A few businessmen doing breakfast meetings. Couples lingering over coffee. She made $43 in tips by 2 p.m. Not enough. Nowhere near enough. The dinner shift started at 5 p.m. Bellissimo's transformed at night. Dim lighting, candles, the soft Italian music that made wealthy Angelenos feel sophisticated. Simone had the back section tonight. 6 tables, high rollers expected. By 7 p.m., she'd served 3 tables. Tips were good. Maybe she'd make $200 tonight. Combined with what she already had, she'd almost have enough for the medication. Almost. At 7:34 p.m., everything changed. A party of 7 walked in. Young men, all in their mid-20s, wearing suits that Simone recognized as expensive even from across the room. They moved like predators, confident, dangerous, aware of their power. The hostess seated them at table 12, Simone's section, and she felt her manager Lorenzo touch her arm. "Simone, that's the Rossi party. VIPs. Very important. No mistakes." "Rossi?" She didn't follow crime families or celebrity gossip. She had no time. Just be perfect. They tip well if you're good. They're dangerous if you're not. Dangerous. Great. Simone approached table 12 with her professional smile in place. The men were laughing, speaking Italian, exuding the kind of casual power that came with never being told no. But one of them made her pause. He sat at the head of the table, clearly the leader. 25, maybe younger, which seemed impossible given his authority. He was devastating. Sharp Italian features, dark hair styled perfectly, olive skin, green eyes that looked both cold and somehow sad, a jaw that could cut glass. He wore a black suit that probably cost $10,000, a gold Rolex that caught candlelight, and an expression that suggested he was bored by everything. This was Dante Rossi. She didn't know it yet, but he was the youngest mafia boss in Los Angeles, had inherited the position at 23 when his father was murdered, ran an empire built on legitimate businesses, real estate, restaurants, tech investments, and less legitimate ones, gambling, protection, things people whispered about. He was worth $2.4 billion. He was dangerous, brilliant, ruthless when necessary, and he was about to have a very bad evening. "Good evening, gentlemen," Simone said warmly. "Welcome to Bellissimo's. My name is Simone. I'll be taking care of you tonight. Can I start you with drinks?" Dante Rossi looked up at her. For exactly 3 seconds, something flickered in his cold green eyes. Something like recognition? Surprise? She couldn't tell. Then it was gone. "Whiskey. Macallan 25. Neat," he said. His voice was deep, accented, American-born but Italian-raised. "For everyone." Macallan 25 was $180 per glass, 7 glasses. This was going to be a very good tip night. "Excellent choice, sir. I'll be right back with your drinks." The rest of the dinner was smooth. They ordered lavishly, appetizers, multiple entrees, wine, dessert. The bill was climbing into 4 figures. Dante Rossi barely spoke to her, directing his attention to his companions, conducting what was clearly business disguised as dinner. But she felt his eyes on her occasionally, assessing, curious. Simone was used to men looking at her. She'd perfected the art of being friendly without being available, professional without being cold. Dante Rossi looked at her differently, not sexual, more like studying. At 9:47 p.m., they finished their meal. "Whenever you're ready, sir," Simone said, placing the leather check presenter on the table. The bill was $2,847. Dante reached for his jacket, patted his pocket, frowned, checked his other pocket, checked inside his jacket. His face, that cold, controlled face, registered something Simone had never seen on a man like him. Panic. "Problem, boss?" one of his men asked. "My wallet. It's not here." "What?" "I don't have my wallet." The table went silent. Dante looked at his 6 companions. "Anyone have cards? Cash?" They checked. Between all 7 men, billionaires, mafia, powerful, dangerous criminals, they had $340 in cash. They were $2,507 short. "I left everything in my other jacket," Dante said, jaw tight. "At home. We went straight from the warehouse. I didn't think—" He stopped, took a breath, looked at Simone with something that might have been embarrassment. "I need to call my assistant. Have him bring cards. It'll take 40 minutes. "Of course, sir. No problem at all." But it was a problem. Lorenzo was watching from across the restaurant, concern visible. Other tables were glancing over. This was Bellissimo's, where powerful people came, and a mafia boss unable to pay his bill was complicated. Dante made his call. Spoke in rapid Italian. Hung up. "Antonio will be here in 40 minutes. I apologize for the inconvenience." "It's no inconvenience at all, sir. I'll let my manager know. Can I get you anything while you wait? Coffee? After dinner drinks?" "We're fine." But he wasn't fine. Simone could see it. This man, this powerful, dangerous man, was humiliated. Not angry, humiliated. Because image mattered in his world, and right now he looked like he couldn't pay a restaurant bill. She walked away, approached Lorenzo. The Rossi party needs 40 minutes. His assistant is bringing payment. Lorenzo looked stressed. This is bad. We can't have them sitting here unpaid. What if they leave? What if... They're not going to leave. They're waiting for payment. What if someone sees? What if word gets out that Dante Rossi couldn't pay? This is bad for us, bad for them, bad for... Simone wasn't listening anymore. She was doing math. She had $340.47 she needed for Lila's medication by tomorrow. But she also had the credit card she kept for absolute emergencies. The one with a $3,000 limit that she'd been slowly paying down for 2 years. Current balance, $1,200. Available credit, $1,800. The bill was $2,847. She couldn't cover it all, but... Lorenzo, give me a minute. She went to the bar, asked Marcus, the bartender, "How much cash do you have on you?" "Why?" "Just, how much?" "Like 180. "Can I borrow it? I'll pay you back Friday. I swear." Marcus pulled out his wallet, handed her $180 in 20s. "What's going on?" Simone didn't answer. She went to the hostess stand. Her coworker Jen was there. "You have any cash? Maybe $60? Why?" "I need it. I'll explain later. Please." Jen handed it over, confused. Simone had $240 in borrowed cash, plus the Rossi party's $340. That was $580. She had $2,800 available credit. $580 plus a $1,800, $2,380. Still $467 short. She needed $467 more. Her paycheck Friday would be $680. If she paid $467 now, she'd have $230 left. Not enough for Lila's medication. Not enough for rent. Not enough for anything. For exactly 15 seconds, Simone Carter stood in Bellissimo's Italian restaurant and made a choice that defied all logic. She was going to pay a stranger's $2,847 bill with money she didn't have, knowing it meant her daughter might not get her medication tomorrow, knowing it meant she might not make rent, knowing it was the most financially irresponsible thing she'd ever done. But she'd spent 30 years being kind even when the world wasn't kind back, and she wasn't stopping now. Simone approached table 12. Dante Rossi looked up, those cold green eyes tired now. "Sir, I can help with this." "What do you mean?" "The bill. I can cover it. You can settle with me directly." "Save you the wait." Every man at the table stared at her. Dante's face cycled through confusion, disbelief, understanding. "You're offering to pay my bill?" "Yes, sir." "You understand it's nearly $3,000? "Yes, sir." "Why would you do that?" Simone smiled. The real smile. The one that came from the part of her that still believed in goodness despite mountains of evidence to the contrary. Because sometimes people forget their wallets. And sometimes someone should just help. Silence. Dante Rossi, 25 years old, billionaire mafia boss, man who commanded empires and inspired fear, looked at this 30-year-old black waitress with her worn uniform and tired eyes and kind smile, and felt something he hadn't felt in the 6 years since his mother died. Humility. "What's your name?" he asked quietly. "Simone. Simone Carter." "Simone Carter. You're sure about this?" "I'm sure." She was lying. She wasn't sure about anything except that Lila's medication could wait one more day, rent could be late, and maybe, just maybe, kindness mattered more than logic. Simone went to the computer system, rang up the $2,147 bill, added the Rossi party's $340 cash, put $1,800 on her credit card, put $467 on her debit card. Overdraft fees be damned. The transaction went through. She printed the receipt, brought it to table 12. All set, gentlemen. You're free to go. Enjoy your evening. Dante stood, all 6'2" of him, looked down at her with an expression she couldn't read. You just paid my bill. I did. Why? I already told you. Sometimes people should just help. Nobody just helps. Not without wanting something. I guess I'm nobody then. She smiled. Have a good night, sir. She turned to walk away. His hand caught her wrist. Gentle, not threatening. Just stopping her. I need your address. My... What? Your address. I'm going to repay you. Obviously. And more. Much more. What's your address? Simone thought of her studio apartment. The curtain dividing the space. The second-hand furniture. The reality of her life that she didn't want this powerful stranger seeing. That's not necessary, sir. Really. I'm happy to help. Simone Carter. He said her name like he was memorizing it. You just paid nearly $3,000 for a stranger's dinner. I'm going to repay you, and I'm going to do more than that. What's your address? Something in his voice, the intensity, the certainty, made her answer. 1640 Santee Street, Unit 4B, downtown. He pulled out his phone, typed it in, looked back at her. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. A car will come for you. You're coming to my mansion. Sir, I have work. Call in. This is more important. His green eyes held hers. Please, come to my mansion. Let me repay your kindness. Please. It wasn't a command. It was a request. From a man who clearly didn't make requests often. Okay, Simone whispered. 2 p.m. Thank you. He released her wrist, gestured to his men. Let's go. They left. Simone stood in the empty space they'd occupied, heart racing, wondering what she'd just done. Lorenzo appeared at her elbow. Did you just pay their bill? Yes. With what money? Mine. Simone, are you insane? What if they don't pay you back? They will. How do you know? She didn't. But something in Dante Rossi's eyes, something beneath the cold and the power, told her he was a man who paid his debts. That night, Simone went home with $43 in tips, her other tables, minus the $240 she'd borrowed from Marcus and Jen, plus $67 in overdraft fees from her debit card. She'd lost $230 helping a stranger. Lila's medication would have to wait one more day. Rent would be late. And tomorrow, she was apparently going to a billionaire's mansion. She didn't know that tomorrow would change everything. She didn't know that her kindness, the most financially irresponsible thing she'd ever done, would be returned 1,000-fold. She didn't know that Dante Rossi, lying awake in his own mansion across the city, was thinking about her smile and making plans. All she knew was she'd done the right thing, even if it cost her everything, even if it was foolish. Sometimes kindness was its own reward, and sometimes, though she didn't know it yet, kindness was rewarded by forces far beyond human understanding. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. she'd find out which. Simone didn't sleep. She lay in her twin bed. Lila got the better mattress, staring at the ceiling, doing math that didn't work. She'd check her bank account on her phone, $0.12 available. Credit card, maxed at $3,000 now. Overdraft, $67 in fees. She'd helped a stranger and bankrupted herself. At 6 a.m. when Lila woke up, Simone was already dressed, making oatmeal, 49 cents per serving, trying to figure out how to explain to a 7-year-old why they couldn't get her medicine today. Mama? Lila shuffled out, dragging her stuffed rabbit. I don't feel good. Simone checked her blood sugar. 240. Too high. The insulin was running out. We'll get your medicine today, baby. I promise. Okay. Lila trusted her completely. That trust was both beautiful and terrifying. Mrs. Chen picked Lila up for school at 7:30. Simone called Bellisimo's. Lorenzo, I need to take today off. I'm sorry. It's an emergency. You can't just... I know, I'm sorry. Dock my pay. I'll explain later. She hung up before he could fire her. At 1:30 p.m., Simone stood in front of her tiny closet, trying to figure out what you wear to a billionaire's mansion when you own exactly 4 outfits. She settled on her only dress, a simple navy blue shift she'd bought at Ross 3 years ago for $16.99. It was clean. It fit. It was the best she had. At 1:58 p.m., a black Mercedes SUV pulled up outside her building. A man in a suit, one of Dante's security from last night, got out and approached her door. She opened it before he knocked. "Ms. Carter, Mr. Rossi sent me to collect you. I'm ready." The SUV was nicer than any place she'd ever lived. Leather seats, temperature control, bottles of fancy water. The driver said nothing, just drove west, toward the hills, toward the kind of Los Angeles she'd only seen in movies. They drove for 40 minutes. Finally, they turned onto a private road, through gates that opened automatically, up a driveway lined with trees, and there it was, the mansion. It wasn't a house. It was a statement. Modern, massive, all glass and stone and impossible wealth. It sprawled across the hilltop like a king's crown, overlooking the entire city. The driveway alone was bigger than her apartment complex. The SUV stopped at the entrance. The security guard opened her door. "Mr. Rossi is waiting in the main room. Follow me, please." Simone followed, through double doors that swung open automatically, into a foyer with marble floors and a chandelier that probably cost more than she'd make in her lifetime, through hallways lined with art, into a living room that was the size of a basketball court, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Los Angeles, furniture that looked like sculpture. And there, standing by the windows with his back to her, was Dante Rossi. He turned. He was wearing black slacks and a simple white dress shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows, no tie, no jacket, less formal than last night, almost human. "Simone Carter," he said. "Thank you for coming. Thank you for the invitation. Sit, please." She sat on a couch that probably cost more than her annual salary. He sat across from her, forearms on his knees, studying her with those intense green eyes. "I had Antonio research you last night," he said. "I hope you don't mind." Her stomach dropped. "Research me? Nothing invasive, just public information. I know you're 30, single mother, daughter named Lila, age 7, diagnosed with juvenile diabetes. You work at Bellissimo's, have for 5 years. You dropped out of nursing school at LA Community College. Your mother died last year. You have $43,000 in medical debt. You live in a 300-square-foot studio in one of the worst neighborhoods in LA. Your rent is $950. You make approximately $3,400 a month. After expenses, you have less than $100 left each month." He paused. "You paid my $2,847 bill last night with money you desperately needed for your daughter's medication. You bankrupted yourself to help a stranger." Simone's hands were shaking. "Why did you research me?" "Because I needed to understand why. Why would someone struggling the way you are help me? I'm rich. I'm powerful. I didn't need your help. You could have let me wait 40 minutes, could have let me be embarrassed, could have let me handle my own problem. But you didn't. Why?" "Because it was the right thing to do." "The right thing would have been taking care of your daughter first." "My daughter will be fine." "Will she?" His voice was sharp. How are you paying for her medication today? How are you paying rent? How are you surviving after bankrupting yourself for me? Tears burned her eyes. I'll figure it out. I always figure it out. Dante stood, paced to the window, stood there with his back to her, shoulders tense. My mother was a saint, he said quietly. She was kind to everyone, gave money she didn't have to people who needed it, smiled at strangers, believed the world was basically good. He turned. She was murdered 6 years ago. Wrong place, wrong time. Caught in crossfire during a hit meant for my father. She died on the street, and the people who watched didn't help. They walked around her, called 911 eventually, but no one held her hand. No one comforted her. She died alone on cold pavement because no one in this city gives a damn about anyone else. Simone's heart broke. I'm so sorry. I became the man my father wanted after that. Cold, calculating, ruthless when necessary. I stopped believing people were good. I stopped believing kindness existed without motive. I surrounded myself with people who understood power, not goodness. He walked toward her. And then last night, a waitress with nothing paid my bill with money she couldn't afford to lose, for no reason other than it was kind. And I realized something. He sat beside her on the couch. My mother would have liked you. She would have recognized you. Someone who's kind even when the world doesn't deserve it. I'm not special, Simone whispered. You're extraordinary. He pulled an envelope from his pocket. This is a cashier's check for $50,000. It's yours. Simone stared at the envelope like it was a snake. I can't accept that. You can. You will. It's too much. It's not enough. He placed it in her hands. $20,000 to clear your medical debt, $10,000 to cover 6 months of rent and expenses, $10,000 for your daughter, medical expenses, savings, whatever she needs, $10,000 for you to go back to school, nursing degree. I'll cover tuition and living expenses until you graduate. Simone was crying openly now. Why are you doing this? Because you helped me when you couldn't afford to. Because kindness should be rewarded. Because my mother would want me to. He stood. But I'm not finished. What? Walk with me. He led her through the mansion, showed her rooms bigger than her apartment, a kitchen with appliances she didn't recognize, a library with floor-to-ceiling books, an office with a view that cost more than most people's homes. Then he led her outside, to the guest house. It was smaller than the main mansion, but still massive by any normal standard. 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, full kitchen, living room, private yard. This is the guest house, Dante said. It's empty. It's been empty since I bought this place 3 years ago. I want you to live here. What? You and Lila, rent-free, for as long as you need. Until you graduate, get your nursing license, find your feet. 2 years, 5 years, however long. I can't. You can. You will. He turned to face her. Simone, you're drowning. Let me help you. Not because I pity you, because you deserve help. Because you're kind in a world that punishes kindness. Because someone should. Why do you care? Because I watched my mother die for being kind. I won't watch it happen again. Simone looked at the guest house, at the yard where Lila could play, at the possibility of safety, stability, hope. I need to think. No, you need to say yes. Stop thinking. Stop being proud. Stop suffering. Just say yes. She looked at him. This 25-year-old billionaire who'd been researching her life, who'd seen her struggles, who was offering her an escape she didn't dare believe in. If I say yes, what do you want in return? Nothing. Nobody gives $50,000 and a house for nothing. I do. Today. For you." He stepped closer. "I want nothing except to know that kindness is rewarded, that the woman who helped me isn't drowning anymore, that your daughter gets her medicine, that you get to finish your degree, that you get to breathe. This is insane. Yes, this doesn't happen in real life. It's happening right now." Simone Carter, 30 years old, single mother, waitress, survivor of every injustice life could throw at her, looked at the man offering her salvation and made a choice. "Yes." Dante smiled. A real smile. The first she'd seen from him. "Good. You're moving in tomorrow? I'm sending movers. Give them your address. They'll pack everything, move you here, set you up. I'm having the guest house furnished today. You pick the style. I'll make it happen. I'm opening a bank account for Lila's medical expenses. It will always have $10,000 in it, auto-replenishing. You're enrolling in nursing school next semester. I'm handling tuition. And you're never working at Bellissimo's again. But I need income. You'll work for me, 20 hours a week, whatever you want. House management, errands, I don't care. $30 an hour, flexible schedule around your classes, health insurance included." It was too much. It was everything. "Why are you doing all this?" she whispered. Dante Rossi, 25-year-old mafia boss, looked at the woman who'd bankrupted herself to help him and told the truth. "Because 6 years ago, nobody helped my mother when she was dying on the street. And I decided that if I ever had the power to help someone who deserved it, I would. You deserve it, Simone. You deserve all of this and more. I paid an $800 bill. You gave everything you had to a stranger. That's not an $800 bill. That's a $100,000 act of faith in humanity. And I'm returning it." Simone fell to her knees on the beautiful grass of the guest house yard and sobbed. Not sad tears, relief tears. For the first time in 7 years, she felt safe. Dante knelt beside her, didn't touch her, just was there. "You're going to be okay now," he said quietly. "You and Lila. I promise. You're going to be okay." And Simone Carter, who'd been drowning for so long she'd forgotten what breathing felt like, finally believed him. The next day, professional movers packed Simone's entire life into exactly 8 boxes. That was it. 8 boxes. Everything she and Lila owned in the world fit into 8 boxes that didn't even fill a quarter of the moving truck. Dante had sent his interior designer to the guest house, a kind woman named Maria who'd asked Simone about her style, her preferences, her dreams, and then made them reality. By the time Simone and Lila arrived at 3 p.m., the guest house was transformed. Furniture that looked expensive but felt comfortable. A real kitchen with appliances that worked. 2 bedrooms, one for Simone, one for Lila, both bigger than their entire old apartment. Bathrooms with hot water that didn't run out. A living room with a TV, they hadn't owned a TV. A backyard with grass and trees and space for a 7-year-old to run. Lila stood in the doorway of her new bedroom and whispered, "Mama, is this ours?" "Yes, baby. Forever? For as long as we need it. It's like a castle." It was. Dante appeared at 5 p.m. with groceries. Actual groceries. Filled their refrigerator and pantry with food. Real food, healthy food. The kind Simone usually couldn't afford. "The account I set up for Lila has $10,000 in it," he said, handing Simone a debit card. "Only for medical expenses. It will auto-refill to $10,000 anytime it drops below $5,000. Get her medicine, get her whatever she needs." Simone took the card with shaking hands. "I don't know how to thank you. You already did. You helped me when I needed it. I'm returning the favor." "This is more than a favor. Simone." He looked at her seriously. "Stop counting. Stop feeling guilty. Stop waiting for the other shoe to drop. This is real. Accept it. But accepting it was hard, because Simone had spent 30 years learning that nothing was free, that help always came with strings, that the world took more than it gave. Over the next week, she waited for the catch, waited for Dante to ask for something in return, waited for the bill to come due. It never did. Instead, he just helped. He enrolled her in nursing school at UCLA, full scholarship, something he'd arranged. He set up her work schedule, 20 hours a week doing whatever needed doing around his various properties, flexible around her class schedule. He introduced her to his staff, Maria the designer, Antonio his assistant, Marcus his head of security. They all treated her with respect, not like the help. He checked in on Lila, not weirdly, just asked how she was doing, sent her books. Lila loved reading. Made sure Simone knew that if anything medical came up, day or night, his driver would take them to Cedars-Sinai where he had connections, and he asked for nothing. Nothing. It was unnerving. "Why are you doing this?" Simone asked him one afternoon. They were in the main mansion. She was helping Maria organize his library, one of her work tasks, and he'd come home early. "I told you why. But it's been 2 weeks. You've spent probably $100,000 on me, on someone you don't even know. This doesn't make sense." Dante set down the book he'd been holding. "What would make sense to you?" "I don't know. But this feels like charity." "It is charity. So?" "I don't want charity. I want to earn." "You did earn it. You earned it when you paid my bill with money you didn't have. You earned it when you bankrupted yourself to help a stranger. You earned it by being the kind of person who chooses kindness even when it costs everything." He crossed the room. "Simone, I'm worth $2.4 billion. I made $300 million last year. The money I'm spending on you, it's a rounding error. But what you did for me, that was everything you had. You gave me everything. I'm giving you less than 1% of what I have. If anything, I'm the one getting the better deal." "How do you figure?" "Because you reminded me that goodness exists. You reminded me of my mother. You gave me hope." His voice softened. "That's priceless." Simone didn't know what to say to that. Life developed a rhythm. Lila thrived. Her blood sugar stabilized with reliable access to insulin and test strips and all the supplies she needed. She started at a new school, a good school, public but well-funded, and made friends. She played in the backyard. She laughed more. Simone started nursing school. It was brutal. Full course load, clinical rotations, studying until 2 a.m. But she loved it. She was good at it. And she didn't have to work 3 jobs while doing it, so she could actually focus, actually learn, actually become the nurse she'd always dreamed of being. She worked for Dante 20 hours a week. Flexible tasks, organizing his properties, running errands, managing household things. It felt less like work and more like helping a friend. He paid her $600 a week, 30-hour, plus housing, plus benefits, plus the $50,000 he'd given her up front. For the first time in her adult life, Simone wasn't drowning. She was floating, maybe even swimming. And Dante was becoming a friend. He wasn't what she'd expected, wasn't cold or scary or distant. He was lonely, she realized, isolated by his wealth and his power and the walls he'd built after his mother's death. But with her, he relaxed. They'd have coffee in the mornings when she came to work. He'd ask about her classes, her daughter, her dreams. She'd ask about his business, his day, the weight he carried. He told her about the empire he'd inherited at 23, about feeling too young and too lost and too angry at the world that had killed his mother. about building businesses to prove he was worth something, to make his father proud, to honor his mother's memory. She told him about Lila's father walking out, about dropping out of school, about her own mother's death and the debt it left behind, about the years of drowning and the constant terror of not being enough. They understood each other. Two people from completely different worlds, finding common ground in loss and loneliness and the careful reconstruction of hope. "Can I ask you something personal?" Simone said one evening. They were sitting on his patio, overlooking the city, sharing a bottle of wine after she'd finished helping reorganize his home office. "Anything." "Why don't you have anyone? Family, friends, a relationship? You're young, successful, kind." "Kind," he laughed. "Most people don't call me kind." "I do. You saved my life. You saved yourself. I just provided tools. Still, why are you alone?" Dante was quiet for a long moment. "When my mother died, I learned that people are attracted to power, not humanity. Every person who came into my life after I inherited wanted something. Business connections, money, status. I couldn't tell who saw me and who saw my wealth." He looked at her. "You're the first person in 6 years who helped me without knowing who I was or what I could do for you. I still helped you for a reason. I couldn't let you sit there embarrassed. That's humanity. That's different." Simone set down her wine glass. "You're not alone because you're powerful. You're alone because you've built walls. I get it. I built them too. But walls keep out bad things and good things. Are you good things?" She smiled. "I'm at least neutral things." He laughed. Actually laughed. She'd never heard him laugh before. "Neutral things. I'll take it." 3 months into their arrangement, something shifted. Simone was doing well in school. Lila was thriving. The medical debt was paid off. The fear was gone. And Simone realized something terrifying. She liked being around Dante, not just appreciated him. Liked him. He was funny when he relaxed, smart in ways that challenged her, kind in ways he tried to hide, and he looked at her like she mattered, not like a charity case, like a person, like someone he wanted around. One evening, she was studying at his dining table. She did that sometimes. His house was quiet, good for concentration. He came home from work, poured himself a drink, sat across from her. "What are you studying?" "Pharmacology. I have a test tomorrow. I'm going to fail." "You're not going to fail." "I might." "Quiz you." "What?" "I'll quiz you. Pull up your study guide." For the next 2 hours, Dante Rossi, Billionaire Mafia boss, quizzed Simone Carter on drug interactions and dosing calculations and pharmacokinetics. He was patient. He made her explain things in her own words. He built her confidence. At 11 p.m., she finally closed her laptop. "I think I'm ready. You're going to ace it. You're a good teacher. You're a good student." Their eyes met across the table, and something hung in the air between them, something unnamed, something that felt like possibility. Simone stood quickly. "I should go. Lila is asleep, but I should—" "Simone." She stopped. "Thank you." "For what?" "For being here, for studying in my house, for making this place feel less empty." Her heart did something complicated. "Thank you for giving me a place to study and live and breathe." She left before either of them could say what they were really thinking. The test came back. 97%. Dante brought champagne to celebrate. "I told you you'd ace it." "You jinxed me. 97 isn't an ace." "It's close enough." They drank champagne in the guest house living room. Lila was at a sleepover, first sleepover she'd ever been allowed to attend, another gift of stability. It was just them. "Can I ask you something?" Dante said. Sure. Are you happy? What? Here, in this arrangement. Are you happy? Or do you feel trapped? Simone set down her glass. I feel saved, not trapped. You gave me my life back. But are you happy? She looked at him, really looked at him, at this man who was 25 to her 30, this man who had everything but seemed to have nothing that mattered, this man who'd given her the world and asked for nothing. I'm happier than I've been in years, she admitted. Maybe ever. I'm not scared anymore. Lila's healthy. I'm in school. I have hope. She paused. Are you happy? I'm less lonely, he said quietly. That's something. Just less lonely. It's more than I had before. They sat in silence. Then Simone did something brave. You don't have to be lonely, Dante. You could let people in. I've let you in? I mean, really in. Not just as someone you're helping, as someone who sees you. His green eyes darkened. Do you see me? I think so. What do you see? A man who's scared, who lost his mother and never processed it, who built an empire to prove he was strong but feels empty, who's kind but won't admit it, who's lonely but won't ask for connection. She moved closer. I see someone who deserves the same grace he gave me. Dante's breathing changed. Simone, I'm not asking for anything. I just want you to know you're not alone. Not anymore. I see you. He stood abruptly. I should go. It's late. Dante, thank you for the evening. Congratulations on your test. He left, and Simone sat in her beautiful living room, wondering if she'd just ruined everything. For 3 days, Dante avoided her. Simone did her work, went to classes, took care of Lila, but she didn't see him. Antonio coordinated her schedule. Maria gave her assignments. The house felt empty. On the 4th day, Dante appeared at the guest house door at 7 a.m. He looked exhausted. Can we talk? Simone let him in. They sat in her living room, the one he'd furnished, in the house he'd provided, in the life he'd made possible. I'm sorry, he said, for avoiding you. It's okay. It's not okay. I was scared. Of what? He looked at her with those intense green eyes that saw too much. Of this. Of what I'm feeling. Of what you said. You told me I'm not alone, and I didn't know how to handle that. What are you feeling? Dante ran a hand through his hair. Simone, you're 30. I'm 25. You're my employee. You live in my guest house. You're a single mother. I'm a mafia boss. Every logical reason says this is a terrible idea. What's a terrible idea? Me wanting more than your friendship. Simone's heart stopped. More? I'm falling for you. I've been falling since the night you paid my bill. Since you smiled at a stranger and bankrupted yourself because it was right. Since you moved into this house and made it feel like a home. Since you studied at my table and let me quiz you. Since you told me I don't have to be lonely. He leaned forward. I'm falling for you, and it terrifies me because I can't tell if you feel the same or if you're just grateful. Grateful? I gave you money, housing, security. How can I trust that anything you feel is real and not just gratitude? How can you trust that I'm not using my power over you? Simone stood, crossed to him, knelt in front of where he sat. Dante Rossi, I am grateful, but gratitude doesn't make me study in your house when I have a perfectly good table in mine. Gratitude doesn't make me want to hear about your day. Gratitude doesn't make me smile when I see your car in the driveway. Gratitude doesn't make my heart race when you're near me. Simone, I'm falling for you too. And yes, the age difference is there. Yes, the power imbalance exists. Yes, it's complicated, but I don't care. I see you. The real you. Not your money or your power. You. The man who helps strangers. The man who still grieves his mother. The man who's lonely but kind. That man. I'm falling for that man. Dante cupped her face in his hands. You're sure? Because once we cross this line, I can't go back. I don't do casual. I don't do temporary. If we do this, I'm all in. I'm sure. Are you? I've never been more sure of anything. He kissed her. And Simone Carter, 30-year-old single mother, nursing student, woman who'd been saved by an act of divine intervention disguised as a forgotten wallet, kissed him back. It was gentle. It was intense. It was right. When they pulled apart, they were both smiling. What do we do now? Simone asked. Now, we figure it out, together. What about Lila? What about her? She's 7. She's been through enough. I can't introduce someone into her life unless I'm staying? I'm staying, Simone. I told you. I'm all in. You barely know her. Then I'll get to know her, if you'll let me. Simone stood, pulled him up with her. Okay, but slowly. She's been hurt before, when her father left. She needs to trust you. I can do slow. He couldn't. Within 2 weeks, Dante Rossi was a fixture in Lila's life. He'd come to the guest house for dinner. He'd ask about her school day. He'd help with homework. He'd play whatever game she invented in the backyard. Lila, who'd been wary of men since her father left, took to him immediately. Mama, she whispered one night at bedtime. Is Dante your boyfriend? Would that be okay? Is he going to leave like Daddy did? Simone's heart broke. I don't think so. Baby. How do you know? Because he keeps showing up. Because he keeps choosing us. Because he's different. I like him. Me too. He makes you smile real smiles. He does. Then he can stay. Permission granted. Over the next 6 months, Simone's life transformed completely. She excelled in nursing school, made it to her 2nd year. Her professors loved her. She was on track to graduate with honors. Lila thrived. Her diabetes was managed. She was happy, healthy, growing. And Dante became family. Not just a boyfriend. Family. He was there for Lila's school events. He helped Simone study. He had dinner with them most nights. He taught Lila about his Italian heritage. He took them to places they'd never been, museums, beaches, restaurants. He integrated them into his life. And his life became softer for it. His business associates noticed. Antonio commented that Dante smiled more. Maria said the house felt warmer. Even his father, who called from Italy occasionally, said his son sounded happy for the first time in years. You found someone, his father said during one call. I did. Tell me about her. She's everything Mama would have loved. Kind, strong, real. Then don't let her go. I won't. 1 year after the night Simone paid his bill, Dante took her to the restaurant, Bellissimo's, the same table where they'd met. Lorenzo recognized her. Simone, I heard you're in nursing school. That's wonderful. Thank you. They sat at table 12, ordered the same meal. When the bill came, $2,847, exactly the same, Dante pulled out his wallet dramatically. Do you have any cash? He asked his security. Marcus was with them, grinning. Nope. Dante looked at Simone with a smile. Looks like I forgot my wallet again. Dante. He got down on one knee, right there in the restaurant, pulled out a ring box. Simone Carter, 1 year ago, you bankrupted yourself to help a stranger. You changed my life. You brought me back to humanity. You made me believe in goodness again. You gave me a family. You gave me hope. He opened the box. Will you marry me? The restaurant went silent. Simone was crying. Yes, yes, of course, yes. He slid the ring on her finger. The restaurant erupted in applause. Lorenzo was crying. Marcus was grinning. And Simone Carter, 31 years old, nursing student, single mother, woman who'd once been drowning, was engaged to a man who'd helped her fly. 4 years later. The graduation ceremony at UCLA was packed. Simone Carter, soon to be Simone Rossi, walked across the stage in her cap and gown, accepting her Bachelor of Science in Nursing with honors. The crowd cheered, but the loudest cheers came from 3 people. Dante, 30, sitting in the front row with tears in his eyes. Lila, 11 now, holding a sign that said, "My mom is a nurse," and Dante's father, who'd flown in from Italy for this. After the ceremony, they celebrated at the mansion. Not the main mansion. They'd moved into it together 2 years ago after getting married in a small ceremony in Italy. The guest house was now used for guests, Simone's nursing school friends who visited, Lila's friends for sleepovers. The party was beautiful. Simone's nursing cohort, Dante's business associates, Maria and Antonio, Marcus, people who'd become family over 4 years. At one point, Simone found Dante on the patio, looking out at the city. "Hey," she said, joining him. "Why are you hiding?" "Not hiding, reflecting." On how different life is than I thought it would be. 4 years ago, I was alone, empty, going through motions. And now, he pulled her close. Now I have you, and Lila, and a family, and a home that feels like home, all because I forgot my wallet. Simone laughed. All because I was too stubborn to let you be embarrassed. All because you're kind even when it costs everything. It cost $2,147. You've returned it about 1,000,000 times over. Never enough. They stood in comfortable silence. I start at Cedars-Sinai next month, Simone said. Pediatric unit. I'm terrified. You'll be amazing. How do you know? Because you're you. Because kids will love you. Because you'll care about them the way you care about Lila. You'll save lives, Simone. You saved mine first. No, you saved yourself. I just provided the tools. Still, thank you. For what? For seeing me. For choosing me. For loving me even when it was complicated. Dante kissed her forehead. Loving you has been the easiest thing I've ever done. 5 more years later. The house was chaos. Lila was 16, finishing high school, already touring colleges. She wanted to be a doctor, inspired by watching her mother save lives. Simone was a nurse manager at Cedars-Sinai, promoted 3 times in 5 years, respected, loved by her team, making a difference every day. Dante had stepped back from the more dangerous aspects of his businesses, focused on legitimate enterprises, real estate, tech investments, restaurants. He wanted to be present, wanted to be a husband and father who was there. Father, because they'd had twins 2 years ago, a boy and a girl, Marco and Sophia, 2 years old, wild and beautiful, and filling the mansion with noise and joy. One Saturday morning, Simone woke to find Dante already up with the twins, making pancakes, flour everywhere, both kids covered in batter. "What is happening?" she laughed. "Cooking lesson. Obviously. Obviously." She joined them, made coffee, watched her husband, her partner, her love, teach their children how to make pancakes while making a complete mess. Lila came downstairs, rolling her eyes. "You guys are ridiculous." "You love us," Dante said. "Unfortunately." They sat together at the table, the family they'd built, the life they'd created, and Simone thought about that night 10 years ago. when she'd paid a stranger's bill with money she didn't have, when divine intervention had shown up disguised as a forgotten wallet, when kindness had been rewarded 1,000-fold. She'd given $2,847 and gotten everything: a home, a family, a career, a love that defied logic, all because she'd chosen kindness even when it cost everything. "What are you thinking about?" Dante asked, noticing her expression. "About that night, at the restaurant." "Me too. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't helped you?" "Every day. And I'm grateful you did. I'm grateful you're kind. I'm grateful you saw me when I needed seeing." He reached across the table, took her hand. "I'm grateful for you, Simone Rossi. I'm grateful for you, too." The twins started throwing pancakes. Lila recorded it on her phone. Chaos and laughter and love filled the mansion. And Simone Carter Rossi, 40 years old, nurse manager, mother of 3, wife of a man who'd given her the world, understood something profound. Kindness is never wasted. It's always returned. Maybe not immediately, maybe not obviously, but it's always returned. 10-fold, 100-fold, 1,000-fold. All you have to do is be brave enough to give it. Even when, especially when, you have nothing left to give. Before you go, remember, comment "more miracles." If you want more stories of divine intervention, unexpected generosity, and proof that one act of kindness can change everything, like and subscribe. We're building something beautiful here. And tell us in the comments, have you ever helped a stranger even when you couldn't afford to? Have you ever been helped by someone when you needed it most? Have you ever witnessed kindness being rewarded in ways that seemed impossible? Your story matters. Share this video. Let's remind the world that kindness is never wasted, that generosity returns, that sometimes angels show up in unexpected forms, waitresses, strangers, moments of divine timing. Let's remind the world that the best investment you can make is in someone else's humanity. Everything else is just noise.